What do you think of this whole process, by the way? Because as an outsider, it seems like at times, I'm not sure if it's this exactly, but it seems like it get pretty chaotic arguing and discussing, yelling at each other. It just kind of gets crazy as an outsider, but things seem to get done and in a good fashion, it seems like. So it's just kind of entertaining as an outsider seeing this and many others, as I'm sure, stuff in the US is very strange to see. Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be watching and reacting to Who's in Charge of Britain? Who is in charge of Britain? Who's actually in charge of Britain? This is by Jay Foreman, not Che. Jay Foreman, and I love his videos. Extremely entertaining if you haven't seen him before. I've reacted to a few, maybe two others so far, and there's quite a few that I want to do some more. I know many of you have been requesting more of his videos, and I am all for it. So let's see, through him, who is in charge of Britain. Let's do this. Let's see. Hey, I know that door.
Who's in charge of Britain? Well, it's the Prime Minister, isn't it? The one we voted for? Actually, no, he isn't. Not only is the Prime Minister not in charge of Britain, but we didn't even vote for him. The Prime Minister is officially just an advisor to the real head honcho.
Me!
Yes, an old lady lucky enough to be descended from a family with the most violent army is our head of state. It's officially her country and her laws. Except that's not really how it works. Our parliament is a baffling thousands of years old institution that's been around for hundreds of years. And it's changed so much that the word officially means diddly squat. So how is the country actually run? What does the Prime Minister do? Who does the government? Why am there backbenchers? Government how Home Secretary there is? Parliamentary where cabinet reshuffle opposition right honourable what?
Nice. Good words.
Britain is a democracy, which means we, the people, decide how the country is run.
But instead of squeezing 64 million people into the House of Commons, we have 650 people representing all of us. How are they choosed?
The country has been carefully divided into 650 constituencies, each one containing roughly 70,000 voters.
Wow.
Every 5 years, there's a general election. We put an X next to the person we like best, then the person with the most votes becomes our constituency's Member of Parliament, or MP.
Now, even though technically anyone can put themselves up for election, and they often do, they're almost always a member of a political party. But what is a political party?
Broadly speaking, it's a group of people that all feel the same way about how the country should be run. They have a party headquarters and a logo and a favourite colour. If you're a member of one of these parties, you're much more likely to get voted for because people know what you stand for. And political parties have got money to help with posters and leaflets and things.
Logical.
There's nothing in the rulebook that says there needs to be such thing as political parties. They've just naturally come about. In theory, you could have a parliament made up entirely of independent partyless MPs. It's just never happened, and they probably wouldn't agree on anything.
So that's how the House of Commons
Rough.
gets its 650 MPs. And now this is where she comes in. The Queen politely asks one of the MPs to be her Prime Minister. This is a tradition that dates back to the years of King George I, who needed an advisor to help run the country because he only spoke German. Officially, the Queen can pick whomever she likes, but so far she's always gone for the leader of the party with the most MPs. The Prime Minister then chooses a crack team of his best friends to form the government, a small group of people who do the actual day-to-day running of Britain, as in coming up with new laws and deciding where to spend our money and deciding how to get our money, etc, etc. The Prime Minister's job is to decide who does what, swap them around every so often, and give them a massive f***ing if they f*** up. But the government can't do whatever it likes. It has to be kept in check and challenged on every decision it makes. That's mainly the job of the party that came second in the general election. They're called the opposition. They pretend they've got government jobs and show you what they would have done if they'd won instead.
Again, there's nothing in the rulebook about any opposition. In fact, the opposition wasn't mentioned in law at all until 1937, when they had to agree how much the leader of the opposition should be paid.
So what about the rest of the MPs who don't get a job either in the government or the shadow cabinet? They've still got a very important job to do. They're called backbenchers because they sit on the back benches, which are at the back, and are benches.
It's their job to represent us, the ordinary folk, in Parliament. And they do this by voting on things.
Every time someone comes up with a potential new law, known as a bill, our MPs argue about it for ages and ages and then decide aye or no in a vote.
What do you think of this whole process, by the way? Because as an outsider, it seems like at times, I'm not sure if it's this exactly, but it seems like it get pretty chaotic, very energetic about their stances, are arguing and discussing, yelling at each other. It just kind of gets crazy as an outsider, but things seem to get done and in a good fashion, it seems like. So it's just kind of entertaining as an outsider seeing this and many others, as I'm sure, stuff in the US is very strange to see.
Eyes to the right! 400!
They use the word I instead of yes because they're pillocks.
In theory, the MPs decide for themselves how to vote, but the slightly depressing news is they're normally told how to vote by the leader of their party.
Party leaders employ people literally called whips, whose job it is to go around making threats and promises so that MPs vote as they're told.
Whips,
it's the only
wow.
way you can get more than half of the room to vote the same way. It may seem like an
true.
insult to democracy, but actually that's pretty hard to justify. Once a bill gets liked by the House of Commons, it gets handed on a piece of paper to the room next door, the House of Lords. But they're really weird and complicated, and I can't be bothered to talk about them right now, so they're a story for another time. Bills get sent back and forth like an onion between the two houses until ultimately one person gets the final say on what becomes a law. Oh, go on then.
Isn't that insane that we actually live in a monarchy? It's 2000 and something, not 13 something.
Gradually over time, the Queen's role has become more and more ceremonial and she does more and more nothing. Her powers still exist, and in theory, the Queen could veto any law she doesn't like.
But she knows full well that if she tries to exercise any of her theoretical power and defy the MPs that we, the people, voted for, there'll be an instant revolution and will set her palace on fire.
I've seen a few videos too about the Queen and the power that she actually has if she chose to, push upon her powers. I guess you could say that. And she has done that a few times, I believe. Just a couple times where she blocked something or kind of pushed something through, something along those lines. It's been a while since I've seen that video. Correct me if I'm wrong with that.
It's easy to forget all of this. When there's an election on, the media make it feel like you're choosing a prime minister. But you're not. And you're not choosing a party either. You're choosing a person, your local MP, who just happens to be a member of a party, who just happens to have a party leader. So who's in charge of Britain? In an official sense, her. In a technical sense, him. In a practical sense, them. In an idealistic sense, us. But the real answer...
I like that.
Dunno.
Okay, thoughts on this one. I mean, it all seems to work really well. I mean, whatever's happening is working. But I would like to hear from you if you are British or if you are abroad. If you're not living in the UK, I want to hear about your thoughts on this process, how you like it in general. Does it work? Has it worked? Just kind of everything about the system, who's in charge, and any information that you could give on this topic. Good, bad, and the ugly. I want to hear it all. So thanks for watching. This was a shorter video. Jay Foreman, if you want to watch more of his videos. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.